Let's have a conversation.
Come on. Come on. Faster, faster, faster. Don't lose it. Don't lose it. You got to get all the way down with the burpee. Chest to the floor. Chest to the floor. Come on.
You are. It does not look the same, and it shouldn't. So had you not quit, where would you be right now? What does consistency look like on your life? Do you keep going just when you're winning, just when you're feeling good, just when you're motivated and inspired? Are you motivated or are you dedicated?
So, you like the video montage that I put together there?
That brought back some memories.
Yes. So,
that brought back some memories. That was good. That was good. I like that.
Definitely. So good evening, everybody. This is Mark here of Music and Mental Health. Welcome to all of those who have not been on my page before, and to those who have. Please make sure before you start to like, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, and hit the notification bell to get notified of when I drop some more great content. So I'm excited here that I have my trainer that I've been working with for the past about 2.5 years. And I'd like for you to just introduce yourself and anything you want anyone to know about you and your business.
Okay. Habaragani to everybody. If you celebrate Kwanzaa, you know what the response to that is. Today is the third day of Kwanzaa. So we're working on Ujamaa, cooperative economics. With that being said, my name is Lord. I am the founder of Body's Divine Fitness. Bam, co-owner. All right, shout outs to my boy Trav. You should be on the screen here. I don't know where you at, but you better be here. I am a certified fitness trainer, life coach, and I've been doing this since 2014. I'm plant-based, so I eat nothing but, as they say, bush, vegetation, plant food, and I'm here to give you guys some gems and give you this journey that me and Mark have been on for the past 2.5 years. So I'm ready. Shoot me some questions.
Thank you for that introduction. So I just wanted to get into a little bit of how I met Lord. It's funny because I'm introducing you to all the people that I seem to have met during 2020, which was one of the most difficult times of my life, as I have said on here before. The pandemic, when the pandemic first started and the gyms closed down, I initially just thought to myself, I'm just going to wait it out until the gym opens back up. Because at first they had said it's going to close for 2 weeks. Then they're like, it's going to close for another 2 weeks. Then they say it's going to close for a month, 2 months. And then we were on about 3 or 4 months. And I was realizing that I was gaining a lot of weight. And it's easy not to be able to tell when you're in your house, you're working remote, and you're wearing sweats and a t-shirt all day. But I remember one day I had to go to like a function, and I had to put on clothes for the function, dress clothes, and I found some stuff in my closet that was fitting me at that time, and I couldn't even get the buttons halfway closed. So I was like, this is a situation. So I had eventually reached out to somebody else, not him. I reached out to somebody else. We went through a whole assessment, a phone conversation, several phone conversations. And the day that we had planned to actually meet up in person, he hit me up that day and was like, I'm out of state in this other state. And I was like, oh, okay. So when were you planning on telling me that? And he was like, oh, don't worry. I'm moving to this state and we can do the programming online, which was not at all what we discussed. So for me, this was a big, big downer because I had psyched myself up to start exercising again. You guys see me exercising almost every day at this point. But at that point in time, I was completely sedentary from about March until when I met Lord, which I think was July, right?
Yes, it was July.
Yeah. From about March to July, I was doing zero exercise. I was just in my house almost all day, every day. So I almost gave up and said, I'm just going to wait this out a little bit longer. But then I said, you know what? I really needed this trainer. So I'm going to go back out there and look for somebody else. I happened to find him kind of randomly on that same networking Facebook group that I had found the previous trainer. And I kind of gave him an abbreviated version of the same thing that I had told the other guy because I was tired of it. Because let's be honest, it's like a new business relationship with somebody where you don't feel like going through this whole process with one guy and then going to somebody else and explaining the whole story again and giving them all the details and all that. So I was kind of like, I hope that this works out, is what I said to myself. And I remember meeting him, and I didn't really know about his programming or anything like that. And it was nothing I had ever done before because it was outside. And it was mostly like body weight and calisthenics and all that type of stuff. And I'm expecting weights. So maybe we can start there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there was one part that you missed in the story. So when you got in contact with me the first time, it was when you had already gotten in touch with whoever you got in touch with. You had contacted me, but Facebook never pushed the notification to my inbox. So, and because I didn't know you, it went to one of those, what is the
automated response
or mail request folders. So I never saw it. So when I finally did see it, I looked and I contacted you and you said, I found somebody else. So I'm like, okay, well, if anything ever changes, I'm here, contact me anytime. So you contacted me, right? So
you actually refreshed my memory with that. So what had happened was I was waiting on that guy to see if he was going to come back or if we were going to do that session that he originally had signed me up for the assessment. And then, that was the point where you had reached out and I was like, I had gotten in contact with this guy already. I'm kind of waiting and seeing what's going to happen with him. But the fact is he moved somewhere and didn't tell me he was moving and tried to get me to do online services. So from there, that's when I ended up working with you eventually.
Yeah. Once you did, I remember our assessment. We went to Roy Wilkins. And I remember you telling me, I got this envelope because you had this envelope in your hand.
Yep.
And you said, what I have in here is the exact amount that you charge. And I've had this for the longest time, but it was supposed to be for somebody else. So that's, Supreme Being working its magic in the universe, right? So we go through our assessment and I see that you have some exercise experience, but you have never worked with your own body. And that's what a lot of people I find have never really worked with their own body. And so they think that you're just, it's a gym type of thing. You go to the gym, you pick up weights because it's more or less, it's not necessarily hard, depending on what you're lifting, to pick up a weight. But to pick up your own body, pick yourself up is another challenge in itself. So we went through that, and you were exhausted just from the assessment in the first few minutes.
Yep.
I'm like, okay, this is this is gonna be quite an experience here. I remember the first run you did.
Me too.
The first
Oh,
run you
yeah.
did was what was it? You ran one lap around the track, which is about a quarter mile. But you couldn't run. I don't think you ran the whole first lap
No,
in its fullest.
no.
So you were out of it. And that happens. You're just starting out. So I'm expecting all of this, and it's all the process. But I know you was looking at me
Yeah.
like, come on, man, what you got me doing out here?
Yeah.
And it was a new experience for you. So
Yeah. So the thing
Go
is,
ahead.
you expected it. But for me, as somebody who's always been into athletics, I felt almost embarrassed that I couldn't make a whole lap around the track. I'm like, even in as out of shape as I am, I'm sure I could push myself for at least like a couple of laps on this track. And when I got to a certain point and I couldn't, I was like, wow, I am way further back than I thought that I was.
um
Do you know who See the World is? Is this one of your
yes. Oh.
your
You're um so I remember we spoke about you creating a plan for you, and your plan in the beginning stages of your training, we didn't necessarily have the biggest goal set, right? Because like most people, you come in, I want to lose weight, or I want to get in shape. It's usually the general response that I get from most people. That's really just that far end goal, but it doesn't have any specifics to it. And when it comes to programming, it needs specifics. So I'm constantly coming at you with, like, all right, so what do we want to do here? Like, where do we want to go? Like, what is this, well, what do we want to do by, this point? Like, and you didn't always have an answer yet. Maybe no one has ever asked you that before. I remember you told me that you had other trainers, and maybe no one asked you specific questions before.
No.
So that was one thing that was, something that we had to figure out.
Yeah, the questions were always just, what weight do I want to be, basically? Like, what weights do you want to get to, and what kind of body size do you want to be? That was really the questions that I got from anyone that I had worked with previously. People in the See the World says, I haven't been able to make a lap around the track since I was 10. Don't feel bad. And Bill T Kingdom says, I can't do a lap either. Yeah, so at that point, when I came to you, I kind of just felt like, help me. That's really what I felt like, because I'm like, at this point, I can't even see a goal, because I don't even see myself as the person who's done races before and was into football, basketball, baseball, like all these different sports. I'm like, I'm a person who has trouble walking up and down some stairs at this point. So I need someone who can not only help me with programming, but self-belief that I had lost coming into those sessions.
Yes, I I remember us talking. A lot of the conversations that we had during that time was talking about uh, past generations, right? And well, not generations, but our predecessors, so to speak. Whereas there are a lot of people that you knew that were like, after a certain point in their life, they give up on all things healthy. It's just like, I'm just happy to be alive, and as the saying goes, we all got to go sometime, and they give into that. And for some, some people gave in too early, and you kind of adapt what Big Mama done bestowed upon you. You got to eat, and they just gonna keep feeding you, and eventually one day you're just in a position where it's like, wow, what happened? Bringing you to a point where you had to get out of that mindset and away from that type of energy was a big factor. Just keeping you going. Because I remember there's a few times you told me, like, I really didn't want to, I was trying not to come, but I knew where you lived, so I would have shown up anyway.
I have to tell you guys about those first probably 3 or 4 months, because that is the time period that Lord is referring to. And I remember the very first, the assessment that he was talking about, of course, but I actually remember the first session that he made me do. I want to say that you might have had me do maybe like a mile around the track or something like that. And also you had me do some HIIT exercises. So I'm thinking the sequence of HIIT exercises and the laps around the track that you gave me is the workout, because I'm huffing and puffing. As you guys saw, some of the stuff, the ball slams, and I think there's wall balls, I don't know, skaters. There was like a sequence of HIIT exercises and running in between. Like once you finish the HIIT during the rest period, you do like a lap or two. And I was sitting here like, this is so difficult. My chest is burning. My legs don't feel like they can move anymore. My arms are on fire. And then he was like, good job. Now we're going to get into the workout. And I'm like, if that wasn't the workout, what's the workout?
I remember you saying that exactly to me.
That format was like something I had never done before in my life. I had maybe done like a treadmill warm up and then get into some weight machines. I said, yep, that's Lord. But doing like an intense HIIT that got my heart rate up like that, and then having to do strength-based body weight stuff was like nothing I had ever experienced before. And I remember I kept asking you, when does this get easier? Because I was like, this sucks every single time. When you said, when I was telling you that I was trying not to come, I would wake up in the morning at whatever time I get up, 6 o'clock in the morning, thinking about this workout. I'm like, at 7 p.m., I got to meet up with Lord for this workout, and I'm already not looking forward to it. Maybe I'll call out today. And I'm thinking this all throughout the day at work. I finish work and all the way up to the time. And I'm like, you know what? I have to go. I committed to it. I don't have a real excuse aside from the feeling I have while I do it. But I'm trying to get over that feeling. So I pushed myself.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's never supposed to get easier. You just get better. You just get stronger. But it's never supposed to be easy.
Same thing you told me at that time.
It's never supposed to be easy. Even for myself, I cannot. I remember one time I did a workout where I did not feel like I did my all, but I knew my energy wasn't there that day. And sometimes that's going to happen. My energy wasn't there that day, and it's just like I still did it because it's just what I do. And that day I was like, all right, whatever it is, what it is. I did what I could with the energy that I had, and what you give, what you can.
I'm dropping up this comment up here. Can you see it?
Shout out to Shamise. Okay, my star player.
So I want to circle back a little bit to something that you said. Oh, let me read this comment first. Doing HIT was the moment I realized I was out of shape for real. Oh, me too. Being skinny doesn't mean you are in shape at all.
Oh, that's a fact. That's a fact.
So I want to circle back a little bit and talk about your background and why you got interested in becoming a personal trainer in the first place. Was this something that your family or your parents implemented health and fitness and nutrition and all that stuff on you and you kind of picked up from there? Is it something you picked up yourself?
Okay. So the one who got me to consider personal training is my mother. This is many years after or later, but when I was a kid, I was always pretty active. Some would say crazy. It depends on who you're talking to. My father was a big workout buff. I remember in an old house we had the porch was like mini gym. We had a row machine. Might have had some weights. There's very little that I remember from that time, but we had a few workout things in the porch. But my father also had us when we were kids. We weren't working with weights or anything because I never really used that stuff. He always had us doing push-ups, jumping jacks. I remember at one point my father clocked me at nearly 1,000 jumping jacks when I was a kid, and I never stopped. He had me doing jumping jacks with some other kids or whoever was in the house, and I never stopped. And then I think he counted me at 1,000 or something like that.
Wow.
So I was always a hyper kid, running around, storming up the block, whether with my friends or by myself. Always had the energy. I was like Naruto. Um, but it wasn't until I got into high school that I really got into fitness. Um, I was I wasn't too much smaller than I am now.
Mhm.
Well, I was shorter, but so I'm this young guy. I'm slim. I take this power training class, and I'm not really in the class doing much of anything. Um, I had this teacher, gym teacher, and I remember him coming to me one day. And I feel like he picked on me that day because I feel like I was the only person he came to with this. And he says, listen, if you don't gain some size by insert whatever time period or date, um, I'm going to fail you. And I'm going to have your future gym teachers fail you.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, I can't fail gym. This is the coolest place to be. so I said, okay, cool. So I started working out, and I end up having this gym partner. To this day, I don't know his name, nor did we ever speak. Um, we never had a conversation, but we worked out together every day. He was my spotter, I was his, all of that. And I entered this bench pressing contest, which I beat him out for third place. We were the shortest kids in the class. I beat him out
Mhm.
for third place. And I really, like, after high school, and that was probably like 11th grade. After high school, I just never stopped. I had I had this set of dumbbells, two sets of dumbbells. All right, one set of dumbbells my grandmother gifted me, which I still have today. I don't let anyone touch them. 3-pound dumbbells. I remember she gave them to me. She said, "I hear you like to work out. Here." So she gave me 3-pound dumbbells. Now in my mind, I'm like, "What am I gonna do with this?"
Mhm.
But I took them, and I somehow I did something with them. Another set my older brother gave to me, and my older brother gave this to me when he went into the military. He had these set of 15-pound dumbbells, and I took those. And all I did was most of the time was push-ups, crunches, squats. I think that's it. Push-ups, crunches, and squats. I really didn't have much of anything, to use. I didn't have a gym membership or anything. That wasn't even a thought.
Mhm.
And I worked out every morning, every night. And it got to the point where my gym teacher started having me train people. He's like, oh, work with he butchered my middle name. Everybody called me my middle name in high school. So he work with Amashi over there. He's he's good. Work with him. So I don't know how to train him, man. I'm just like, okay, just do what I do. Man. I didn't really have too much knowledge. I knew how to do a push-up. So later on, I start going to the gym. This is back. Anybody that's on here that was with us, Trav was there. I don't know if anybody else was, but this is when we used to do go to Planet Fitness on Jamaica Avenue. That was the one on Van Wyck. So we used to go there every night, right? Or maybe twice a week. But every Tuesday we would have no bitching Tuesdays. And what that was no matter what we did in that workout, you had to do. And there were 3 rules. You couldn't throw up. And it's weird that that's a rule. It's weird that that's a rule. But it's a rule for a reason because there were people that were doing it. So you couldn't do that. You had to do everything that we did. And there's no bitching. Right? So we did that. And then people just started. We were working at Walmart back in the day. Shout out to Walmart, all my Walmart heads. Working at Walmart, and we went. People just started coming. Oh, we need to work out with y'all. Me and Trav were just accumulating people just coming with us. So it was like, all right, come through. Like we just it's just friends, the homies or whatever. It got to the point where the gym thought we were having classes. So people were working there. It was like, yo, y'all got a class going on in here. Y'all don't even work here. Like, they're like, nah, it's just a bunch of people. we just here working out. They just came with us. So from then I told my mother about that. And she said, you ever think about becoming a personal trainer? I was like, maybe. I didn't, but I'll look into it. So from then on, that might have been 2013. I want to say 2013. And from then on, I was just like, oh, this is kind of cool. And people would come and ask me for advice. And me not having a whole lot of knowledge at the time, I would give them what I knew and hope that would help them. Because, a lot of trainers, and I'm sure a lot of trainers can attest to this. When you first come into the game, you don't have an abundance of knowledge or experience. You just know how you got in shape, what your story was. And your assumption in your head is that everybody can get in shape that way. So I would have people train with me. I use them as prototypes, to perfect my skills. And lo and behold, today I am sitting on quite a few people that have amazing results because they believed in me and they stuck with me, and I'm I'm happy for that. So that's how I got it.
Nice. I like that answer. So something that I want to know is, even though I was an unmotivated person who came to you, I was still somebody who was somewhat motivated regardless, because I'm like, I know where I've been and I know where I want to be in terms of, I want to do athletic competitions, Spartan races. I mean, even though I wasn't in that place then, in the back of my mind, I'm like, when I get back in shape, I want to start tackling some of these things that I was doing before. So if you're getting somebody who's not into sports, not into athletics, not into any of that kind of stuff, and they have just reached a point in life where they're like, what happened to my old self? What happened to my old body? The vibrance I used to feel, the energy that I used to have. And they are more signing up for personal training, looking for somebody to give them all of that, the motivation, the drive. And it's you're not getting much of a foundation in terms of what they're bringing to the table. How do you tackle a job like that or a task like that?
I get a lot of tasks like that. I have to know what I'm dealing with. So that's why I focus so hard on doing assessments. When I first meet somebody, I have to know what your current fitness level is. If I don't know what your current fitness level is, I can't give you anything that's going to be conducive to whatever goal or whatever vision you see for yourself in the future. So an assessment, after an assessment, then I can pretty much, it's, I don't want to say it's something that just comes natural, but watching people during an assessment, sometimes adjustments need to be made even through the training. During a training program, once I do the assessment and you're in, there are certain things that I may look at and see, okay, we need to do something different here. Some things need to change. I know a lot of my clients can attest to that. Things will abruptly change, but I'm watching you. I'm figuring out exactly what it is you're having the most problems with, and I implement more of that. But we do it in a very progressive way. So that's one thing as far as training goes. As far as motivation goes, it's really all about the talks. You and I have talks all the time, right? Not everybody can get into a groove where it's like, I'm ready to do this, every day. Because you gotta be present. Without you being there, it's gonna be very hard for you to reach any goal. You
Mm-hmm.
gotta be present. Your mind's gotta be there. We have the talks. A lot of the talks that you and I have been about, especially in the beginning, have been about why you're doing this. What things are are you utilizing as a catalyst to get you to come here in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
I remember one time, I remember you were telling me about a relative that was in not so good shape, and you looked at that, and sometimes this is for a lot of people. You look at that, and it's like, yo, I do not want to be there when I'm their age. And it's a good thing that you reached out and that you started your journey when you did, because a lot of times people will look at other people and they're like, oh, I don't want to be like that person, but I really don't have the mindset right now to make the change that I need to make. They're not saying that word for word, but it happens, and we need to constantly have a conversation with ourselves for once, to understand why we're doing it, what we want to do, um, and have a conversation with somebody that we trust or look up to. So for you, you kind of didn't have anybody at the time. Um, so I end up being that guy. People don't know this, and people don't may not realize this, but a lot of times your trainer is your therapist.
Yeah,
Your
yeah,
trainer is your therapist.
yeah.
I hear countless stories about a lot of people during training sessions, and they make the most realizations through that. Um, you got to open yourself up. Open yourself up to people that I would not say utilize a family member or a or a friend. It's very hard to do because not everybody's would know how to maneuver a conversation like that for you. Everyone has your best interest at heart, but not everybody understands fully. Having a
Mario
whole party.
Mario said you need to get two payments. The comment section is killing me out here.
um, but yeah, have the conversations, and just be open. It's not easy, but try your hardest to be open. It's the hardest thing that you can do, um, the hardest thing you will do, is to open that door. Once you get in there, once that door is open, it'll be hard for you to close it, because it just feels better. Like I can tell you, it feels better. Um, and a lot of people have told me that, just through the conversations. So get yourself a trainer. Talk.
I can attest to a couple of things that you said there. The first one, was when you were like, you assess and you figure out what the person's capabilities are, and then you figure out what's hard for them and give them more of that. I remember you asked me a trick question in one of my earlier sessions where you're like, okay, after I was done, maybe, or maybe at the beginning of the next session, you were like, what parts of that were the hardest for you? And I was like, well, the thing that I like the least is the burpees. And you're like, okay, copy that. More burpees. So, like, everything that I told you that was the worst part of the workout for me, you were like, I'm going to incorporate more of these.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even really know why you asked that. I was just answering it. I thought you were just making conversation or something, but it became part of the programming.
Yes, every time I do this in my personal life, I will ask somebody a random question, and this will be for something that I plan on implementing or asking you about, or I plan on having a conversation with you about in like a year. Like I will ask questions like that. Just know that when I ask you a question, it's gonna come up at some point in time. I've already planned for it, and that's what it's about, the planning. You know, I got a plan to get you to the next level. So, you know,
The second thing, I have to put this comment up here though. He did the same thing to me with lunges. I feel your pain.
She hates lunges. She hates lunges. I don't know why you hating.
But I have to mention the why part of what you're talking about. I must have thought I had a why before I ever trained with you, because I've been doing athletics my whole life. I had multiple different trainers, and I've had multiple transformations in my life. Many, many different ones. Gained weight, lost weight. But the why part, I think I just figured out for the first time as I was training with you. And it was because life was happening right in the midst of all of this. So, as you mentioned, my relative, I mentioned it on my channel before. It's my dad who was sick. And actually, the very first session that I had with you, my dad had a stroke that day. And this was our first planned session. And when that happened, I was like, I don't feel like doing anything. I don't feel like getting up. I don't feel like leaving my bed. I was for sure going to cancel the session. That's what was in my mind. I'm going to cancel the session. And actually, I'm going to put the sessions on pause and maybe tell him I'll pick this back up a couple months from now when things settle out for me and everything's a little bit easier. So I recall I went to go visit him in the hospital. I saw him. I spoke to him. I spoke to the doctors and everything. And then I got home. And there was a few hours before the session, and I was thinking, what am I going to do here? Should I go or should I wait? Should I cancel? And then it just kind of dawned on me like a light bulb moment. I need to regain my health. I need to get my health back, because right now I'm in a position where I have a family kind of predisposition, as I've been told, to high blood pressure, high cholesterol, strokes, and things like that. So I said to myself, he's in as good as care as he's going to be. And I don't think that this is going to actually get easier for me at any point. So I think this is the most important time for me to lock in and commit to doing this session. I didn't mention this to him before the session because I didn't want to have some kind of situation where I was just mentally out of it, having to talk about the whole situation first. But I went through the entire session. It was hard. And I think because of what was going on, it was not up to what I could have possibly done if I was in a better mental state. But I was happy that I got through it. And I told you at the end, I'm like, this is what happened. And you were like, wow. So I felt like that was such a pivotal moment for me. Pushing through at that particular moment and using that as a why. Like, I'm not going to just look at this and say, this is inevitable for me. I have to figure out how I'm going to do better for myself.
Yes, I remember that that period. When you told me, because we had a whole conversation about that, when you told me about that, and you told me what your experience or what your family's um, experiences have been, and it's like I remember you telling me all of your father's brothers
Yep.
had similar issues,
Yep.
and you're looking and you're like, oh man, I don't. Doctors telling me that this might be my future. I'm not trying to have that happen. A lot of times we don't look at our parents' situations as hard as we should. Um, Realistically, I had a conversation with someone, probably a few people, because I talk about this a lot. Um, as you get older, right, you have to remember that your parents are also getting older. And while this is, while it's something that we don't really think too heavy on, you know, those times where, your mom might ask you, hey, can you get this off the shelf for me? you know, where
Mhm.
normally it might not have been that much of a challenge for them. Um, it's something we need to think about more because we are eventually gonna become that. It's very hard to think about that because you don't want to think about getting to a point where you are reliant on other people. The best thing that you can do is put yourself in a position where I guess you can delay that a bit longer. Um, my my experience is I have a lot of clients that um, are 60 plus, and I can tell you that all of my clients that are 60 plus are warriors. Okay. Um, they are not trying to fall within that norm of people that are dealing with a lot of different health conditions that um, that the world has fallen into, and that you definitely can get yourself into at that period of time. Um, they tend to latch on to that. Like I have clients that's like, I don't want to cancel. Like I got to do this every day. One of my clients told me um, some time ago, like you're gonna be my trainer for the rest of my life. Like this is, I have to do this all the time. Um, of course, it has to be changed a bit. I can't necessarily train them how I trained you. I was when I saw when I got you on the field, on the battlefield. I remember when uh it might have been months in. You were pretty, you took to it pretty well. After a while, you started taking to it pretty well. Um, but I ain't gonna front. I did put you through some work. I
Yeah.
put you through a lot of torture.
Yeah.
But you championed it. I have clients that are your seniors, and they will do the same thing. Um, one in particular, I can call out. She was said to be diabetic, and she ended up being able to change that. And you can change it. There's a lot of these things that you can change just through exercise and nutrition.
Mhm.
There's a lot of these things that you can change. You can reverse them, but sometimes you don't really have the best example. So if your parents aren't the best examples of that, you kind of fall into what what they fell into, and now you're living the exact life that they lived, wondering what happened and why your children are in the state that they're in. We got to make a lot of changes, especially when it comes to nutrition. And Lucky Charms ain't it. Lucky Charms is not it.
So that's one thing the age old question of what percentage of this needs to be nutrition and what percentage is about exercise. And something that I wanted to ask you is, can somebody just change the nutrition only and not add in training specifically into their programming and still be good with that?
I want to say the science says you can't really have one without the other for optimal health. Now you'll hear that nutrition is 80% of it, the fitness is 20%.
Mhm.
I try not to adhere to that, but there is some truth to it because your nutrition is the thing that governs your overall transformation, your overall size, um, how your body organs, your own organs in general function. Um, the exercise, I would say, is the easier part. And when I say easy, I don't mean it's like just you just snap it and it's good. I mean that it's the easier part because mentally, most folks are going to stick to the foods that they love to eat. And 9 times out of 10, that the foods that they love to eat are the things that's destroying them. Um, I will add this that food isn't, and I have this conversation with my mother all the time. Food isn't what it used to be.
Mhm.
It's not what it used to be. There's a lot of chemicals that go into it now. There's a lot of processing that goes into it now. There are a lot of different foods that are just generally not actual food. You really shouldn't digest any of these things because they technically you or intake them because 9 times out of 10 it's not digesting. It's just sitting there, and that's why you end up with the weight gain a lot of times. So um, nutrition can't be. You have to do the nutrition. You got to dial it in. Dialing in your nutrition is. You can attest to this. I remember when we were training, and every time we trained, every time I saw you, I'm like, all right, so what's up with your nutrition?
I knew exactly what you were gonna say.
And uh, you know, I'm trying. I'm trying. You wasn't trying nothing. You
Yeah.
wasn't trying nothing. Every day I would ask you about your nutrition, and then eventually, and you took to the workouts. People can do the workouts. Once you start working out, it begins. You get used to it, but a lot of times you won't see any major change until the nutrition takes effect. So I would say that you need both, but your nutrition has to be dialed in. If you are working out and you are not eating right, eating for your goals, okay? It's not, excuse me, it's not a matter of just eating healthy. I have a lot of clients that come to me. I have clients before where they didn't want any nutrition guidance because I already eat healthy. Um, a lot of times that's not it. Okay. You have to eat for your goals, and understanding what your goal is going to help you make better decisions with your nutrition. So you can have nutrition, and nutrition can get you only so far without the exercise, just like exercise can only get you so far without the nutrition. They have to be done together. It's a team effort. Okay. You cannot have one without the other. Good nutrition is going to make that workout count. Okay. Good nutrition is going to make that workout all the more beneficial. So take heed to that. Nutrition is necessary. Workout is necessary. You cannot have one without the other for a full transformation. It's got to be dialed in, and you got to know what the goal is. If you don't understand your goal, you're not going to be able to make the change.
If y'all are wondering why I'm smiling, by the way, it's because everything that he's saying now, I've heard in a stern way that is directed at me during our conversations. So I'm hearing like a lighter version that is for a general public, but I've heard a version that is specific to me, like, Mark, what are you doing? And I remember those conversations that you're talking about. They were every day in a sense, but every few sessions or like every few times I saw you, they would get a little bit more turned up. So initially it would be like, hey, what's going on? Because he gave me a nutrition program that I was supposed to be following. And we mapped it out. This is what I'm going to get. This is what I'm going to eat. This is when I'm going to eat it, times, all that kind of stuff. And I would start on the program. He pointed it out to me. I never knew this, but just from observation, he told me one time, you're good for about a week. When I give you something, like you're gonna do that nutrition plan for a week, and then you're gonna go back to whatever you were doing before. So I remember he would be like, "What's going on with the nutrition at the end of our session?" And I'd be like, I was kind of good, at the beginning of the week, and then, I kind of fell off a little bit." And he's like, "What does that mean? What does good mean, and what does fell off mean? What did you eat? What did you eat Sunday? Breakfast, lunch, dinner. Monday, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks. Like, give me the actual specifics of what you were eating and when." And then if I was like, "Oh, I ate a burger and fries, or I ate this and this," you were like, "Okay, so why did you eat that?" And I'm like, "Well, I didn't do the meal prep, or I was out with some friends and that was what was available to eat." And you were like, "Okay, so does that bring you closer to your goal or further away from your goal? Like, you came here for this specific reason. This is the goal that you gave me." And I remember the one thing that you said that stuck with me the most out of anything was to say that every day that you alter from the plan that you set out from yourself is one day longer that is going to take you to get to the destination that you set out. And the reason that particular thing hit me is because we don't have unlimited time to do things. So I'm like, everything that I do now, I really do think about the time and making it worth it, and doing everything I can to reach the specific goal by the time that I set out. So I was like, damn, if I eat this burger, or if I don't do the meal prep for this week and I'm just exercising and not eating right, it's pushing my goal further into the future, and that's not what I'm here for.
Yes, and unfortunately, I'm not going to be there to watch you. I'm not going to be running up on you like a Instagram sketch where I'm running up on you while you're at McDonald's. Like, what you doing? I'm not. I've never. Me personally, I'm not that yelling type of wild, crazy trainer. I'm gonna question you, and I'm gonna make you understand how important this is. When I remember when you made your first real significant jump, was when I said, okay, I'm putting you on a detox. Now, detox isn't necessarily something that is something that's sustainable. Like, I know there's a lot of people that feel like detox, you could go on a detox and you just good. Like, after that, you go and eat some more poison. It's really something that's temporary, and that should be implemented in a way that kind of puts you on it and then takes you off, and then kind of puts you back on. And I remember putting you on one, and you went on, you hit the scale one day, and you were down. What was it? 20, almost 20 pounds,
Something like that. Yeah.
Within what, 2 weeks or so?
Yeah.
And it's like, you was like, yo, you wasn't playing about this nutrition. I was like, yeah, that's what I've been saying to you this whole time.
Yeah.
And not a lot of people, it's not often that people really understand like how important that is. If you make changes with you, we went like almost cold turkey. It's like, okay, you're taking too long with this.
Yeah.
Let's go on this detox. But with a lot of people, if you make small changes into your diet periodically, I'll give you how I was able to. I ended up going into doing a surgery a few years ago. My first surgery ever, my only surgery, hopefully my only surgery. Well, I donated a kidney to my best friend. Shout out. Okay. Really? I donated a kidney, and before that time, I was contemplating on going plant-based. Now, I didn't really have a lot of healthy. When I first started training people, I kind of ate terribly too. Like, I had McDonald's after the gym, and and it didn't really serve me. So I'm like, okay, how do I optimize what I'm trying to do with my body? I had to figure that out. So I I saw that documentary on what was it on Netflix? What the health
Mm-hmm.
that everybody saw.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that. I'm like, I did not know that there were people that did not eat eggs. I didn't know this. Like until that documentary, I did not know that there were people that didn't eat eggs or whatever. I knew that there were vegetarians, and vegetarians eat eggs or whatever. I didn't know that there were people that only ate plants. Period. So I'm like, oh, this is interesting. I'm thinking about trying to gain weight because I'm kind of, I'm not frail or anything, but I wanted to gain weight. So I went into after that surgery, I decided to go plant based. I gradually to make that change. I gradually took things out of my diet. I stopped making chicken. Now I have roommates. If my roommates had, I,
Other
okay, I
comments.
see you. I see you. I did used to eat all the eggs in the house. Uh, I have roommates, and if they made leftovers, or if they had leftovers from their meal preps, they would offer it to me. Okay, cool, but I wouldn't make it myself. I stopped eating eggs. I stopped eating cheese. Gradual things to take away, or you may start with not eating it so much. Kind of weave yourself away from it for a period of time. But then, unfortunately, you have the pharmaceutical and fitness industry out there. Eat whatever you want and get this pill and you'll get, snatched or whatever. So that makes it harder for people to do because they think, oh, well, he's saying that I got to take things away, but this guy is saying that I can eat everything I've been eating and still, get in shape. It doesn't work that way. It's not a magic pill, unfortunately. So when I made my change, I had to weave things away, and it took time. It took a year for me to do that. It took a year for me to do that. It wasn't anything that I did overnight. 1 year I took. I know a lot of people that went plant based and they went cold turkey, and then they went right back to what they were eating before because they didn't plan, they didn't research, they didn't periodically take small things out. And eventually, you can do that. It's not for everybody, but your diet is important, and you gotta, if you're going to make changes, make them small. You have to have short-term goals as well as long-term goals. Short-term goals are just as important.
I wanted to mention, I was going to say for me, it took me about a year and a half actually to get with the program in terms of I was going to do whatever I was going to do in terms of the fitness part of it because we were going to do that together. Whatever you gave me, I was doing that. But in terms of the eating part of it, I do have to mention to all you guys, that's how he introduced it to me. We're going to make these small changes. Okay, we're going to take this out, or we're going to do this certain thing or eat this certain way. And then he would come back and look at me every week and be like, what's going on? You haven't done any of that. Because I would be seeing evidence of that in your body.
Your body won't lie.
Like we basically maxed out the amount that my body was going to change just from the fitness, the exercise, the running and all that stuff. And I was in the same spot for a very long time. So I remember during that time period, I actually got injured. I got a couple of injuries, a shoulder injury and a knee injury. And I had a race coming up that I was preparing for. And I thought, oh, I have all the time in the world. And then when it comes 2 to 3 months in left to go before the race, I'm just going to go real hard during that time. Diet and exercise. But I was in a position where I couldn't go that hard with the exercise due to those injuries. And I remember asking you, I was like, what realistically do you think that I could do within this month that I have before this race, given the injuries that I have going on and the time period that I have? And you basically told me, I can't give you an answer to that because you're the one who determines your limits. I'm not going to put any kind of specific thing where I say, oh, I think you could do this much or get this far. You said something like, it depends on how bad you want it and how hard you're willing to work for it. So again, that was one of those things that just stuck in my head. I was like, man, that hit me in a specific way because I'm like, I would never not want to be somewhere because I'm not willing to do the work that it requires to get there. And that's when you had given me the vegan diet. I did like a vegan diet for about a month and like some detox teas and intermittent fasting. And yeah, just like you said, I was like, wow, my clothes are fitting me different. And, I'm able to have more energy in the morning. I thought that I wasn't going to be able to have the energy eating what I was eating. And it was hard. I'm not going to lie. It was hard. And I don't do that diet so strictly now, like in terms of the vegan part of it. But yeah, it took me a very long time is the point that I'm getting at to implement everything.
Yeah, sometimes it's temporary, but yeah, it really all depends on how much you want to reach whatever this goal is. I remember we didn't even really train for races.
No.
Back then, and that was you did races. You're the first person that I know that I've ever met that did races like every weekend or every other weekend. I'm like, why are we not training for this?
Yeah.
And every time you come, but you never said, when we were early on, you said, I just want to get in shape. I want to do this. I want to do that. I'm like, okay, now that them pounds shed off of you. I remember the guy at the park. He came in and he said, yo, that's the same dude you was training. I was like, yeah. Like I thought that was a different dude.
Yeah.
You made such a change that even strangers was like, hold on, what's going on here? Once you reach that point, now it's time to really train for these races. And we had to start putting some stuff in there. Like that was the fun part.
For
that
you.
Was the fun part. That
For
was
you.
the fun part. You loved it.
So I want to make sure that I get into some of these comments.
Okay.
Let's see here. So Shai said, hi, Mark. Nice interview. This is awesome. Thank you. Ashley said, not sure if I should be eating cookies and listening to this interview, but it's a good interview. I don't want to pronounce this name wrong.
Nia Enchi.
Yeah,
that's the woman who birthed me.
Oh, okay. So I heard another trainer say something like genetics DNA is the gun, but lifestyle pulls the trigger.
Yes, it does. And she says that to me all the time. She says that all the time.
But lifestyle pulls. Yeah, I like that. I got to save that one, actually.
It definitely does.
Exercise is definitely easier to do than better eating. For sure.
Definitely is. I agree with that.
Lord always tells me when we talk about that specific thing, he was like, I can push somebody to their max for like an hour. Like, do this, go here, do this, lift this weight, do this push-up, whatever it is, running. And he was just like, but you're on your own for a whole bunch of the rest of the time. Mm-hmm. Like, even if you're working with him or anyone or just doing your sessions 5-6 days a week, 7 days a week, even if you work out every day, that's still only a really small fraction.
What is that? What is that? 4% of your day.
Yeah.
It's 4%. That's it.
Yeah. So so it's so true. You can lock yourself in for an hour and a half, 2 hours even. I'm just going to max out and do the most that I can do with my body. But then it's like those choices that you have to make every hour. Should I go to the grocery store and get the stuff that I am supposed to make and cook it and put it in my containers like we always talk about? Mm-hmm. Or am I like, I feel kind of lazy today, so I'm just going to go get this fast food instead?
Mm-hmm. And it's so much easier to get the fast food. It's on darn near every corner. It's on Absolutely. Every corner. No matter where you turn, there's a fast food restaurant.
This comment said he used to be over my shoulder criticizing my meals. Oh man. Son had a carton of eggs every morning. All by himself. He boiled 12 and ate alone.
That was back when I used to eat animal products. I was trying to gain some weight, so I'm like, yo, let me get all these eggs. I get
Was
a
it
whole
raw
lot of
eggs?
these. Huh?
You cooked them, or was it like raw
yeah.
eggs? Oh,
No,
you cooked them.
I would boil them. I would do boiled eggs. I tried not to do too much frying. I boil them, knock those out, slice them up, knock those out. I don't know. I always had a protein shake. We call it the nectar of the gods. That's a patent pending recipe. All right, that's a BDF patent pending recipe. So if you ever get that, count yourself lucky.
So this comment from Donna D says, I know a college student who is taking something called exercise science. I had never heard of that before. Is that something you two deal with?
Yes, very, very, very much so. All right, as far as this, there's science that goes into all of this because your body is like a science experiment. Exercise science is ultimately working on body mechanics, how it functions with different resistance, different challenges, and how your body reacts to all of those things, reacts to different stimulus. There's a science that goes to it all. There's a way that you have to do it. There's a formula that goes into exercise that it's unfortunate not everyone adheres to, but not a lot of people know about that. So once you get with a trainer, if they're not teaching you the reasons why you should be doing certain things over other things or instead of other things, they're doing you a disservice. I could easily tell you, oh, go do some crunches. There's a lot of exercises that I may tell him, like, yeah, we're never gonna do that. you go on social media and there are so many fad exercises where people are jumping up and down crazy, throwing weights around. I see now they got people working out with couches in the gym. I don't know if I'm assuming these are skits, but they doing bench presses with couches, and I saw one guy hanging. He had a bike, but the bike was hanging in the air for some reason. I don't know why people doing all these things anymore. I don't know what's happening in the world anymore. But the science of exercise has to be implemented. It has to be explained to you. This is the reason why we're doing this. This is the formula here, right? Even if they don't explain it, there should always be a formula as to what you're doing. Because there are certain exercise techniques that will yield certain results. There are certain things, if you're trying to reach a goal, let's just say hypertrophy. Hypertrophy is muscle mass, the growth of your muscles, right? If you want to gain more muscles, right? There's a certain way that you do that. There's a certain style that goes into it. There's a certain number of reps and sets and all of that stuff. I don't get too obsessed with that because it's possible to get obsessed with that and then you still fall off. But the science is that if you work out within a certain realm or a certain way, then that will yield, as I said before, a certain type of result. If I want to gain muscle, I'm not going to go take a cardio class. That's not what I'm going to do. Now, I'm a big supporter of calisthenics. This is something that you'd never done before, really, when we first started training. I'm big on calisthenics. Yeah. There's a science with that. There's a science with weight training. There's a science with cardiovascular training. There's or endurance. But with body weight, the reason why I love that is that your body is a gym, and it's the first gym you will ever go to. Right? You wake up in the morning, you at the gym. Right? That's how I did my training out of high school. I didn't really have any weights or anything. I did my training body weight exercises. Using that science, that I didn't understand back then. Now that I understand, I can help other people master their own physical form. Right. So that God that you got in you, I'm mastering that vessel that you're using to move around the world with it. Right. So there is a science in it. I believe in that. If you don't have a trainer, you need to get one, or you need to inform yourself. I hate when people say do your research. Not everybody knows what to research. Get someone that knows and that can help you with that. But there is a science in exercise. You have to adhere to it if you're trying to reach a certain goal. There might be people that can get away with it sometimes. That may not be you. So keep that in mind. You may need some help. Get yourself somebody that knows.
I love that statement of your body is your first gym, because I didn't realize that until I started training with you. You know, like I was waiting for you to bust out the weights. I'm like, where are the weights? I mean, we did have weights in there at some points, but the very first stuff you had me doing was basically just my body weight and like a medicine ball and maybe like some light weights, but it wasn't much weight stuff. It was mostly just body weight stuff. And one of the most humbling things I've ever experienced in my life is how difficult it was to utilize my own body for 1 hour in those workouts that you gave me. whether it was just jumping jacks or push-ups or running, you know, like the combination of stuff that I was doing with my body left me feeling like I just got hit by a truck every single time I did one of these workouts. But then I remember even maybe 3 weeks, a month into the training with you, people would see me and be like, oh, you're back in the gym. What are you benching? And I'm like, I haven't been to the gym since March. And we're down in October, November. And the cuts and the strength and all that stuff that they were seeing was just from what I was doing with my body without even the nutrition portion in there yet.
Yeah, people don't utilize it. There's a need that people have to be in the gym environment, where they can't, like, if they can't go to a gym, if you're not training, even when people ask me, well, so where do you train at? Or what gym do you train at? I train in the world, baby. I train in the world. Where you need me to be, you know? I attest that to training with my father when I was a kid. I didn't think of it as training. I remember he used to grab all the kids in the neighborhood, and we used to run from Cambria into Elmont and back, you know, for whatever the distance was. I'm not thinking about any of these things. It's just like I'm playing, you know. But all of that stuff, that was the blueprint to me, you know, being able to say, oh, this is something I can use. And when I saw the results that could be had, you know, it's like, oh, this is crazy. And in different forms, there are different levels. Just like you can train with weights at different levels. Once an exercise becomes easy with your body weight, there's always another version to put you back on your butt. Like, oh shoot, this is crazy. That's why we start with the basics. You know, the basics is your body. That's the basics. That's the best way to start with exercise, is just using your body as it's meant to be used. These are things that you do every day. You may not realize it, but you do a lot of these things with your body every day. Use your body the way it's intended. You get to the gym, you'll be a beast. You're even more of a beast because you're mastering what your body is intending to do without anything else.
Yeah.
So get your calisthenics in. I love it. I love calisthenics. You know I love it. I love calisthenics.
That's true. The first 3 months, probably, I did very minimal of weights at all.
I think eventually we added the resistance bands.
The resistance bands.
Added the resistance bands, but that wasn't, you know, that was about it. We didn't do too much weights until later on.
Yep. So I'm going to get into a few more questions before we close this out. This question here says, any tips for meal prep?
Yes. Okay, so as far as meal prep goes, it starts with you creating a plan. Everything has to be planned. My mother always tells me, if you don't have a plan, you're planning to fail. So that's the first thing. If you're going shopping, do not go shopping hungry. That's the worst time. That is the worst time to go shopping, when you're hungry, because then you're just going to start nitpicking, and you're going to see the snack. You're going to end up in the potato chip aisle. You're going to end up in the soda aisle. Listen, don't go to shopping hungry. Have yourself a plan of foods that you're going to eat. Now, if you need a plan, holla at your boy. Okay. But for the foods that you're going to eat, what you're going to do is you're going to plan out what you're going to eat for that week. Now, I recommend not really meal prepping for more than 4 days. After 4 days, your food starts to start degrading. You don't really want that. 5 days is pushing it, but 4 days I recommend. Meal prep for 4 days and then go for another 4. I think that the thing that people have the most problem with, or one of the most problem with, is having to eat the same things, right? Before all of this supplementation started being put into play, bodybuilders used to just eat chicken and rice and maybe broccoli. That's all they ate. They got in the best shape of their lives off chicken and broccoli. Okay. And rice. Not the Chinese food kind. I'm not saying go to the Chinese food store and get chicken. That's not how it works. It's a different kind of meal there. What I'm saying is that it has to be dialed into a point where your body has something to adjust to. If I'm constantly changing my meals, because you have to adhere to a certain type of macros, you want a certain type of calorie intake. If you're eating everything topsy-turvy, I'm having this one day, that one, this day, you're constantly changing things. Your body's not going to make the adjustments that it needs to make. And that's just the layman's terms. That's just a simplified version. Make your meals 4 days, okay, at a time. You can go to the store, buy your food. If you have food that you can freeze, do that. I have you do it. I have him buy meals for at least 2 weeks. There are certain things that you can purchase that, have a longer life, refrigerator life, where you can freeze them. You're good with that. Fruits and vegetables, those are the things that you may have to keep replenishing weekly. But
yeah.
Purchase your food, the food that you can freeze, purchase that for 2 weeks. All right. You always want to have a week on deck. Oh, that's what I always tell him. You always want to have a week on deck. You have a week worth of food or a week worth of meals ready or prepared or chop them up. I have a meal prep day. My colleagues, my business partners, cats have meal prep days. Every Sunday, we may go shopping on Saturday or Sunday, but we go shopping. We buy our stuff. We cut it up, chop it up that night. The next day we might make it, or we might make it that day. But you want to have meal prep trays ready. Okay? Meal prepping is going to be the thing to keep you on track. Because if you have meals ready to just be warmed up, you're not going to think about going somewhere else. I got food in the house. Take your time. If you're going to have to know what your body type is. Everybody has a body type. Okay. Understanding what your body type is help you understand what your body needs as far as nutrition. So meal prepping, I meal prep every Sunday. Okay. If you, whatever day your week or your work, if you got a work week, your work week starts on Mondays, meal prep on Sundays. Let that be your day. But you have to let that be your day. You can't keep falling off, because what happens is if we don't meal prep on Sunday, we'll say, okay, I'm gonna just go get some fast food or whatever. Then Monday comes, now you don't have time. Okay, utilize that time off. I know a lot of people that have issues with making me, I don't have any time to do. You got time. You don't want it. Meal prepping is tedious. I will be honest with you. Meal prepping is tedious. It's very annoying. Okay. But the fact that I only have to do it more or less once, maybe twice, does help out with me staying on track. You want to stay on track. I remember you had an issue with staying on track because you weren't meal prepping. You were just buying things and hoping that you had time, or you wanted to make time to make the things at the time when it's time to eat. Once it's time to eat, you're going to want to eat. You don't have to chop up vegetables and bake a chicken. You're not going to want to do that.
Yeah. I just wanted to add to what you're saying there in terms of the part about me. The best thing that I got from anything that you told me when it came to my nutrition was to simplify my system as much as possible. Don't try to do extravagant things with your system. Simplify it. Just like you said, the day that you do your grocery shopping, the day and the times that you do your cooking, and then putting things in your meal prep tray. So there's very little process and thinking to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's while it is time consuming for the time that you're doing it, in the long term, you're going to be like, oh, this is fast. And I just pop this in the, I recommend not necessarily using the microwave, but pop it in the oven. You got a convection oven, you have a stove or whatever. Reheat it there. You don't try to stay away from nuking your food too much, because that makes it even more degraded. So you want to try not to do that as often, though it is convenient.
Yeah, and I'll say for me personally, I know that this is not necessarily going to apply for everybody, but I'm not a person who wants to have to sit in the kitchen and make something very extravagant every time I'm cooking. So I basically will get the chicken that I need, like the chicken breast or the fish or whatever it is, and cook that whole thing at one time. And I'll cook the vegetables that I need together, and I'll put them in the trays. And it's like, I enjoy eating it. And it's not something that I have to stress about when the time comes, because the more stress that is involved in the preparation for me is the more likely I am to fall off. Because I remember actually being given nutrition plans that were like more catered towards what I like. So it's like, let's get this variety going for you, which is good if you're willing to actually spend the time every day or every few days making these different meals. But for the average person, life is moving, and it's going to be a lot easier, like he said, to be like, hey, today I'm just going to get this fast food, and tomorrow I'm going to be back on track. But if it's in your fridge from Sunday or whatever is your first day of the week, and you know that it's in there all week, you're less likely to deviate from that. You might once in a while, obviously, but more often than not, you're like, when I'm hungry, I can just pull this out of the fridge because it's already there.
Yes, you got to make the time. If what you truly desire is a transformed body, you have to make the time. All right. It's a non-negotiable if it's what you really want. It's non-negotiable if it's what you really want. You have to look at what you see in the future, what that long-term goal is. Okay. And then there are steps. Those short-term goals are the steps to get to that long-term goal, right? Take your time. It's a process. Trust the process. Okay. It will not steer you wrong if you stay on course. All right. It will not steer you wrong if you stay on course. Very important.
So this comment here says, a wise man once said, you don't lack time, you lack priorities.
Yes.
This says, I'm not that evolved to meal prep yet. It's my New Year's resolution, though.
Okay, your New Year's, as Travis would say, New Year's resolutionary. Okay. All right. Well, get on track. All right. It's the only thing. Having a plan is the only thing that's gonna get you there. It's the only thing you gotta is just gonna get you there. And yes, you have to prioritize certain things. I know a lot of people where certain things you can cut out. You can cut some things out of your life that are not serving you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Nutrition will serve you if you do it right. So we had you and I had a conversation about you getting like staying on task and prioritizing your nutrition. And I remember you were talking about budgeting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Budgeting
Oh,
is
yeah.
a major thing. Food is expensive.
Yeah.
And it's gonna keep getting expensive. I don't know what they're doing out there. But food is expensive. But you gotta eat. You have to eat. That's the only way your body functions.
Plain and simple.
It's if it's getting the nutrients. You can't just supplement, because supplementing is perfect for someone in their already good nutrition habits. I repeat, you can supplement food. I mean, you can supplement with vitamins, and that will help to boost your already good nutrition. You cannot just I know people that just supplement. You cannot just supplement. It does not work that way. What are you supplementing if you're not putting in the food that's giving you nutrients? If you're not putting in nutrients already, it's the supplements aren't going to help to fill in the parts that you're not getting. So heed that. It's not just about supplementing. Them protein shakes will only take you so far.
Mm-hmm.
You need food and good food.
So I know that honestly, there's so many different things that I could go into, but they would take a really long time, and they might be for a future conversation.
Hey, I'm on here.
But I do want to ask you a couple of more things before we close out. We're getting towards the end of this year, and I know everybody does these New Year's resolutions. As Shami said, a lot of people have this as their New Year's resolution. So what would you say to somebody who is just like, this train has just gone out of control. I don't know how to stop it, but I want to get back on track. But I have no idea where to start.
Get a coach, get a trainer. That's the best way to start your journey. Honestly speaking, you may not always need a trainer. This may be something if you take in all of the information, all of the stuff that they teach you, and utilize it in your regular life, you can still take yourself far. But get someone that can help you. You may not have the answers, and it's okay not to have the answers. We're all experts in some field. We're just not an expert in every field. Mm-hmm. So get yourself somebody that can help you, that can guide you through it, and that will take you to where you want to go, or that will segue into where you want to go. But get yourself some help. That's the best advice that I could give you. I could easily be somebody that says, oh, just go exercise, or you got to exercise. It's not that easy for everyone. Not everyone understands the science, as we spoke about earlier. Get someone that can help you with that.
Thanks for that. And do you have anything with your own services that you would like to advertise?
Oh, yeah. All right. So we offer private services currently. We're going to be switching to semi-private because I want to be able to help more people. Semi-private is more or less still private, but it's a smaller class. It's a small version of a class. We also offer classes. If you go to bodiesdivinefit.com, you'll see everything there. We offer programs. If you're somebody that may not have the time, you may not have the space in your schedule for a trainer. My schedule might not fit yours. Another trainer's schedule might not fit yours. We offer online programming where we can give you a program that you can do on your own. There'll be video explanations, and there'll be exercises that you can do on your own at whatever time is optimal for you. Not every time is optimal for you. That's very much understood. We got you on the private training. We have classes, we have online training. Tap in with us and we'll get you right. Trust the process and it won't fail you. Trust me.
Now, I told you guys this is a rare opportunity for me to talk to Lord when he's not telling me, come on, keep going with this. You're not giving enough effort. Just to hear the information without the intensity. Lord finds a way to have these conversations with me while I'm doing the workout. So I can't relax and think. It's like, all right, you got 30 seconds more to breathe. And while you're breathing, we're gonna talk about this in the middle. But yeah, I would highly recommend working with Bodies Divine Fit and with Lord. And I've met his team. You know, his team.
Definitely.
Yeah, I met your team, and it's been a great experience so far. It's been life-changing for me. So I want to thank you for that. And I also want to thank you so much for your time and providing all this great information for the people.
Listen, thank you for having me. Kudos to you and everything that you've been doing, everything that you have done. This man took down, what did you take down? Maybe almost 50 pounds.
Yeah. About 50 plus. Yep.
Yes. From when you first started, you are just amazing. I just want to say you are amazing. And I will apologize because I don't put you through I don't put you through the ringer. And you took it all in stride. It was challenging for you. You took it all in stride. And now today you're able to help impact other people just from your own experience, your own transformation. I'm proud of you. Okay. And, let's continue to change some lives.
All right. I'm just going through a few of these comments. One said, trainers, coaches, and mentors are like umbrellas. You might not need them now, but when it rains, you'll be glad you were covered. I got Stay Divine. I got good job, you two. Let me see. If you want to start with meal preps. Oh, okay. Oh, this was a question. Okay. But you can rewind and get back to that because I think you answered that one.
Okay.
If you can talk while exercising, it's too easy.
Yes, very true.
That sounds like something he would say, actually.
I probably have said that to her a number of times.
So I know I'm trying to close this out, but I just wanted to respond to what you said. I've taken down, I was over 230 when I started with you. I am like a little over 180 on my scale right now. So that's around 55 pounds, something like that.
Yeah.
And I want to say, even though it took a long period of time to get from there to here, I reached that like around my birthday, which was the 2nd of October. And we started training like July of 2020. So that's about 2 years and 3 months that it took for me to get to that goal, because that's a number I had in mind from when I started with you. It's a long period of time, but the time was getting everything together. It didn't take a long time in terms of the amount of days and weeks and months it actually took once I got it together. Because if you remember, it was like it starts here, my weight's up here, went down a little bit, and then it flatlined here. Then another discovery happened, and then it shifted down significantly, and then flatlined again, and then maybe went up a little bit, and then came back to what it was. But then it's like once I got everything together in terms of the fitness, the cardio, the calisthenics, and the eating and the scheduling of all that stuff. And once I really tapped into my programming, my routine, and my why, and all those things came together, it's fast. it's like,
don't forget sleep.
sleep.
Don't forget rest.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't forget that. That is very important. There is a small amount of people in the world that can operate off of maybe 3 or 4, maybe 5 hours of sleep. Get your sleep. If you can get it, get it.
All right. And on that note, appreciate you once again. And I'm definitely going to see him tomorrow, unfortunately, for another round of Lord's torture chamber in terms of the the personal training. But I appreciated this time of me being relaxed and able to actually take in some of this information.
Yeah, we had a lot of good conversations during the training, but it's definitely better when you don't look like you're flatlining.
All right, everybody, take care and have a good night, and I'll catch you guys next time.
Peace.